GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered. And that's MVS and Justin Watson with some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues. If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up. Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow, comma, semicolon, period, next sentence, to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Is that yes? Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
and Jay
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude,
he? How good is he? Let's get it. GMGP. Today, Friday, June 6th, 2025. I decided to wake y'all asses up with myself and my brother from another mother. Y'all know who it is, Jordan Richards, the Canadian, the double down king himself. This is Wake Up with Ray and Jay. We appreciate each and every eye, each and every ear in the building this morning. It's Feel Good Friday. Slightly freaky, probably not too much, but we're gonna have a lot of football talk this Friday. This show is for the people, by the people, so make sure you engage with us in the chat. Hit the thumbs up button, like the show. It takes you like 2 seconds to do that, and check out all the other dope content on this channel. We got stuff popping over on the fantasy football channel, DDFFB. You can be a member over there, get access to shows early, ad-free, none of that ish in your videos. If you are a member of DDFFB, I'd like to talk about, Jay. They say the Halle ban has landed in OKC. JRich, you said that the Thunder were going to win in 4. Gave the Pacers absolutely no chance. And Tyrese Halliburton, who plays the game the right way, He does it again, saving the NBA. How are you this morning, JRich?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, you're not going to get me on the screen. You're just going to, no.
Your solo box was not set up. I didn't have your solo box set up. My bad.
You're good. But yeah, Halliburton shocked us again. Maybe he didn't shock Pacers fans, but he shocked me. And I told you pre-show, look, man, he's a great player. But damn it, he makes every shot. Every time there's a shot
you keep disrespecting him.
And maybe it's disrespect. Maybe it's like, can he keep making all these shots? Is he just insanely hot in the clutch moments? I don't know what it is, but shout out Halle, man. He did it again.
Luke said it.
Arguably
hoops.
The worst shot in basketball.
Saving the NBA with consistent mid-range play and layups. Tyrese Halliburton. Very good. Very good player.
Very good.
Pacers got it done. I mean, down 15 in the 4th. I'm watching. I'm like, well, this is over, right?
Yeah.
Thunder at a high, it's over. And then before you know it, boom, boom, boom. Tyrese Halliburton, mid-range pull-up, cash, game time. Wow. Gotta love sports, man. You gotta freaking love sports. And there were some cool images of Halliburton. What do you think about this one right here? Halle has not missed a go-ahead shot in the final 30 seconds this postseason. I mean, he's on a mission.
That's insane, right? Like,
he's on a mission.
That is insane. And he's taken a bunch. It's not like he's only hit 2 or 3. Like, I don't know what the count is. It's got to be at least over 5 or 6.
I think 5. They had him on a damn screen with LeBron James and Wilt Chamberlain the other day. I mean, and Larry Bird. I mean, I think it's like 5. Been insane.
It's crazy, man.
SGA looked pretty pissed walking off the court last night. So I think we're gonna get MVP Shea again for game 2. But Tyrese Halliburton, man, on a mission. JRich gotta love sports. But got a lot to talk about today, Jay. And we finally got some indication of a big signing. We've got a quarterback that I got to pour one out for today. This is it's the end of an old GQ era. It's the end of a run. We shall talk through that and talk through some of the bigger storylines that we've seen throughout the NFL and maybe even the college football world this week. And I do want to start off with something from the college football world because I've started my summer scouting process for the 26th class, JRich. Had an AMA session with our patrons last night. Shout out to all the All Gas squad members over there, patreon.com/all gas or via the website, ddfantasyfootball.com. But we had a session last night and people were asking, GQ, when you gonna start doing that 26 content? Like, I want to know who the hell's in the class. What's the strength of this group look like? And we talked through the quarterbacks because the first person that I'm doing or I'm working up a profile on is Lenora Sellers, quarterback out of South Carolina. But people were asking, like, what's the strength of the class? Is it just one running back, bunch of quarterbacks? And I'm like, oh man, we got Evan Stewart in the class. He's coming next year. And then yesterday there was a report that the Oregon star wide receiver, Evan Stewart, for those of y'all who don't know, one of the best young wide receivers in college football, a player that was probably going to be in the mix to be drafted pretty high in 2026. Rumors are he tore his patella tendon and will miss the entire 25-26 season. Transferred from A&M, at Oregon now. A lot of people thought he might enter the 25 draft class. I think he made the right decision, at least at the time, to go back to school.
Yeah,
but
100%.
torn patella tendon. So that is that's unfortunate for a really good player, man.
Yeah, no, it's a 5-star prospect, obviously recruited to A&M and transferred to Oregon. We expected big things with a lot of receivers gone off this roster. Now he's not going to get a chance to kind of showcase his full abilities in this Oregon offense, and that kind of sucks. When I think the bigger question, Ray, is like, is he going to come back the following season, like medical redshirt, come back the following season? At that point, he'd be what, a 23-year-old, I think.
I'm not too much worried about the age, but if that news is in fact true, that's really tough for a wide receiver, right?
I mean, I'd be curious what doctors think of it. I haven't looked into it at all. I've dealt with some patellar tendon issues, and you can get tendonitis potentially as well. It's basically just when you extend your knee versus non-hyperextension. So it's interesting where it's not a ligament issue so much where it's cutting laterally. It's more hyperextension and flexation with the patellar tendon. So I think it'll come back fine and be good. I don't think it impacted speed at all, but I'd be curious what some of the doctors think about it. But it just sucks for him coming into what should have been, his featured season finally in a college football offense, and now he's going to be out due to injury.
Yeah, it stinks. That stinks. And yes, Terrell, last night's session was recorded to get posted here after this show. So it was recorded. We'll get it posted for you to check out. Some more news, JRich, and this is news that we have all anticipated, have been waiting for, or maybe not waiting for, but we kind of knew this was supposed to happen, and it's not official until it's official. It still ain't officially official, but a 1-year deal for Aaron Rodgers to become the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This news dropped yesterday, right before our show on Bleacher Report. But Aaron Rodgers signing a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers ahead of next week's minicamp. So he'll be in the building with his new teammates, with his new wide receivers, with his new running back, with his new team OC Arthur Smith, head coach Mike Tomlin. He is in the building. The drama is about over for now. There was also some stuff where old Antonio Brown said that he would love to play with Aaron Rodgers. And we're not gonna dive into that section of the equation just yet. But Aaron Rodgers officially broke his silence, let us know that he's done contemplating, he's done thinking about it. He's going to play football in 2025. I think his age 42 season. What are your expectations for Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin, win total, any of that? Where are you at with this sign now that it's official? How you feeling?
I think I feel about it the same as I did earlier in the week when we were just kind of waiting for him to finally say, yeah, like I'm going to be in Pittsburgh. This is not really news, but it's good for the Steelers, right? If you're a Steelers fan or you're someone who thinks the Steelers are capable of big things this year, like you needed to see this. You've been waiting for this. Mike Tomlin said he wasn't worried at all the way back in the meetings in March with the owners' meetings. He said he wasn't worried, not concerned. It will happen when it happens. And I think it's kind of crazy that they just kind of waited for Rodgers to finally commit. It's good that he's committing before minicamp because there was always a chance he didn't commit until almost training camp. So he will be in the building hopefully next week, signed and everything, playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, we've already seen him working out with DK Metcalf, so hopefully that chemistry is decent from the jump because they have been working out previously to minicamp and him actually being there. But I mean, Arthur Smith's offense, I think, can work with Aaron Rodgers, but what does this ceiling look like, especially when you look at the pass catchers and the players available for the team? Like, it's just not an overly talented roster offensively, right? We know they're going to be strong on defense once again, but can Aaron Rodgers elevate the lack or seemingly lack of talent offensively to a new level that we haven't seen in Pittsburgh?
That's the question. What do you think? Is he good enough? Is this? I don't think the talent is decrepit as you think. You do have DK Metcalf. They do have a tight end, a very good tight end in Pat Freiermuth. They should have a solid running game. They've spent a lot as far as draft capital on their offensive line. I believe Broderick Jones in 2023, Troy Fautanu, the tackle out of Washington, I believe in 24, I think, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they've invested capital and assets up front to protect their quarterback. They've invested in a running back in Caleb Johnson. They've got Roman Wilson, who didn't play at all last year. So I actually think the collection of skill position talent in Pittsburgh is comparable, if not probably a little better than what he had in New York. And I know the individual talent of a Breece Hall probably far exceeds that of Jaylen Warren, or the individual talent of a Garrett Wilson far exceeds that of any individual player on Pittsburgh. But the combination of DK, Freiermuth, their running game, their offensive line, and ancillary pieces, I do think this is better weaponry than he had in New York. Now, are all those pieces going to gel together? Is it going to work? Is it going to materialize into wins? It just, I'm going to shout out Fizzle Dollars. Fizzle, shout out to Fizzle. He tweeted out yesterday, congrats to the Steelers for finding their quarterback to get them to 9 wins again. Like, they'll just win 9 games again with Aaron Rodgers, like no more nor less. So we'll see if he can play. We'll see if he can play. I am a little hesitant that DK is truly like that kind of go-to number one receiver. We've never really seen him do that. You said he peaked, what was that, 2020? When he had 1,300 yards, and since then it's been about 1,100 yards for DK Metcalf. So they had no other options. There are no other options, and you look around at some of these other quarterbacks, like Kirk Cousins, there's nowhere to go. Nowhere to go for Kirk Cousins right now. Here we go. Right? As the hashtag for Pittsburgh, here we go.
It's going to be interesting, right? Like, we're talking about Robert Woods, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Roman Wilson, and these guys would be fine, again, if there was chemistry with Aaron Rodgers and they had familiarity playing together to where he was confident they were going to be in the place they need to be when they're on the field, because that's the biggest problem with Rodgers. It's not that he is not a great quarterback. He is a great quarterback, but I think with that advanced age, his skills haven't necessarily diminished a ton, but it feels like that timing is ever more important than it was years ago when he could kind of fit a throw in, layer it into a spot. It didn't need to be as perfect versus now. Maybe he's not quite the quarterback he was when he was an MVP 4 or 5 years ago, so that stuff does become more important. That chemistry with Metcalf's going to be important, Freiermuth chemistry, and so having all these new pieces, it'll be interesting to see how they gel, because when Rodgers went to the Jets, he brought his guys to the Jets, right? Some of them worked out, some of them didn't, but now is he going to once again bring in an Allen Lazard? I mean, I don't think Randall Cobb's coming out of retirement, and obviously Devontae Adams is on the LA Rams, but it's a new cast that he hasn't played with, and we know he's very particular. Just look back to that play with Mike Williams, when Mike Williams is basically cut to the next week.
Because he cut off the route.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'll have that level of control on this Steelers team, because we know that Mike Tomlin's still the head honcho there, but it'll be interesting to see him play with guys he's not as familiar with, because even when he went to the Jets, he did bring some of his Louis with him, to quote Deion Sanders.
I agree with Joe. Joe said at least the Steelers will move the ball with Rodgers. Good for all offensive weapons. And then she put, I guess, LOL. I mean, that's kind of how I feel. I feel like she does. Like, this has got to be good. It's better than Mason
Better than it
Rudolph.
could have been, right?
It's better than Mason Rudolph, and it's also better than Will Howard. You know, I know DK Buckeye's in the chat somewhere. I saw his ass in here earlier. I know he's in here, and I know he loves that Will Howard. This is a much better offensive unit with Aaron Rodgers running the show than Will Howard and or Mason Rudolph or whoever the hell else they got there trying to play quarterback. So Aaron Rodgers, starting quarterback of the Steelers. That portion of the drama-filled offseason is over. We'll see what other drama materializes and comes out of Pittsburgh's camp as we progress through minicamp and inevitably training camp. And speaking of mini camp, JRich, speaking of mini camp, it is a few weeks ago, I was on the show.
Ooh, dramatic pause.
And I said, I'm 10 toes down. I'm still in, JRich. I said, I am still in. I don't care what you cowards said. I am not afraid of the outcome in Indianapolis this fall. And I was still buying in to that JRich. It's probably over for him in Indianapolis. It's probably a wrap. So let's pull it up, because what happened yesterday, JRich? What happened yesterday?
Well, basically, what ended up happening was we found out that Anthony Richardson is going to be sidelined with a shoulder injury. Now, the shoulder injury is the same AC joint injury he was dealing with last season, and he's not going to participate in minicamp next week. So we're not going to see Anthony Richardson taking reps against Daniel Jones in minicamp next week, and it may mean that he falls a little bit behind Jones in terms of the pecking order when training camp comes around. And let's not forget, Ray, that he struggled with accuracy to begin with. So now we're talking about a quarterback who's dealing with the same injury he dealt with last season, competing for a starting job that he may not win anyways, and people think that he can still be relevant once again. And maybe he can, but I think this potentially could be the uphill battle that, as you know, you've kind of changed your tune. Maybe it's time to just say he's going down that Trey Lance path, and we have to maybe just accept that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if he were going to be around for the full offseason slate of activities, and I believe the actual quote from Shane Steichen is he's not doing anything in minicamp, and we hope he's ready for training camp. No timeline.
So he's got that week-to-week tag right now.
No timeline.
Not good.
Daniel Jones isn't great, but Daniel Jones has been in the league, 5 years now? 5-6 years? I think this is his sixth NFL season for Daniel Jones. He's a veteran. He's won a playoff game, and he's probably going to be able to execute the offense a little better than Anthony Richardson did. He still has rushing upside, and Daniel Jones, for the most part, stays on the field, right? He could stay on the field a little better than Anthony Richardson, who really couldn't be on the field at all. I saw multiple people in the NFL say, oh, yeah, it's a wrap. Like this is what happens right before they're ready to move on from you. And this is year 3 for Anthony Richardson. He has failed to complete one full season as the starting quarterback. The owner who was in place when he was drafted, God rest his soul, is no longer here. I don't know what the direction of the Indianapolis Colts franchise is going to look like under new leadership. I could tell you this is Shane Steichen's 3rd year, and he's done very little with his head coaching opportunity. I'd be pretty pissed if I'm like, damn, I'm 3 years in, and I've been given this hand of JRich for 2 years, some Joe Flacco, and now I got to make it work with Daniel Jones. This should be a net, if he is in fact relegated as the backup, this should be good for the offensive weapons. It should be good for Jonathan Taylor, should be good for Joshua Downs. There was some injury news. Michael Pittman was injured yesterday at practice, but this should be good for Tyler Warren and the pass catchers for the Colts. I think you're right. I mean, year 3 was around the time where Trey Lance finally got the boot, right? It was that 3rd year where people were like, okay, it's Brock Purdy's team. It's not going to be anything with Lance. Here we are.
It was the same issue. He kept getting hurt.
Once they pulled him, dude, once they benched him, and you could go check the tape, I was like, that's probably it. Like, you can't put that back in the bag. Like, you bench your, what was he, the 5th overall pick, 4th overall pick in the draft?
Yeah, top 5.
You bench him, and there's no coming back. You bench him in his 2nd season, and a lot of people, we talked about this in the Discord last night, they were like, Ray, what's the difference between Anthony Richardson being benched and you being out on him, and then Bryce Young getting benched and then coming back in? And I said, well, the difference is Bryce was actually good when he got back on the field. Like, he somehow, in the time that he wasn't playing football, he used that time to get better and elevate his play. He played better than he had ever played before after sitting the bench, right? So that probably gave the Carolina Panthers, the coaching staff, the ownership, the GM, some confidence to continue to build around him, whereas Richardson has not done that for Indianapolis. This is not good, and it's a business, Jay. I just don't see how the business of Anthony Richardson stays booming in Indianapolis. I think it's over.
Yeah, it's just bad business. And going back to the Sykin quote, he said, not going to put a timeline for training camp on it, but when he does come back, we'll ease him into throwing, and then we'll see from there. So it's not just that he's going to come back and start throwing again. He's going to be eased back, so it'll be slow into training camp. And even with your Bryce Young comparison, like, it's no comparison at all. This is a team that actually wanted Bryce Young to be the starting quarterback. And even when he got benched, Canales still said he wants him to be the starting quarterback. And he knew that Andy Dalton would be the starter for a bit, but they wanted to go back to Bryce Young, and obviously they did go back to Bryce Young. And I think the bigger point here is, if you're the Carolina Panthers, having Andy Dalton there to, help Bryce Young or work with Bryce Young or whatever you want to call it, is much different than signing Daniel Jones and signing Joe Flacco, like, in subsequent seasons, in case Anthony Richardson gets hurt or isn't available. Because Andy Dalton, for at least probably the last 5 years, has been a backup quarterback in this league, compared to Flacco, who still today is trying to be a starter, and Daniel Jones obviously trying to rehabilitate himself after going to Minneapolis and now to Indy. So it's two drastically different circumstances. And even when you factor in Richardson's play, like, as bad as Bryce Young was, at times he still looked better than Anthony Richardson did. So even from that standpoint, it's still a massive uphill battle for Richardson. And when you're not healthy, not available, and you have the bonehead moments, like taking yourself out of a game late, you're not doing yourself any favors. We talk about him going on that podcast saying the NFL ain't that hard, getting injured. Like, there are small things that when you're not playing well and you're not available, they become more magnified because you're just putting yourself in bad situations and doing things wrong, right? And we never hear that from Bryce Young. Every presser is perfect. Everything that he does is very quarterbacky, if you want to say it that way.
It's quarterbacky,
He just knows
100%.
how to be a pro quarterback in the NFL, and he does everything right. And that's maybe the difference between going to Alabama, winning the Heisman, and being a star in college.
What's the difference
versus what happened to
what?
JRich,
I'm
right?
not even gonna say that, because Anthony Richardson went to the University of Florida, and I know that that program at that time wasn't as top tier as Alabama, but you're a professional, right? And I think the bigger thing is, these are 21, 22-year-old young men, right? Young men who you just don't know how they're gonna perform. Like, it's just, you don't know what they're gonna do inside the building. He made a couple of probably comments that he probably wish he could have back. He probably made some decisions that he wish he could have back. And the work ethic. And you hear players talk about this all the time, regardless of sport, where they're done and they look back on their career and say, I didn't prepare as hard as I needed to do. I did not do the necessary things to be the best version of myself that I could be. And I think Anthony Richardson will have some reflection time around that as he rides the bench, because I do think he will start off as the backup quarterback. And with that, I do think he will play. I think Anthony Richardson will play in Indianapolis at some point this year. On average, you're getting close to 70 quarterbacks that play across the NFL every single year. So it's double the amount of starting jobs that are available. Daniel Jones isn't great. And, if he starts to stink it the hell up and Indianapolis goes to shit, why not just throw him out there? We can't keep rolling dimes out there. Put JRich out there. Let him stink it up. Put Riley Leonard out there. But ultimately, I do think his time in Indianapolis is cut short. Quickly, who do you think would be the biggest beneficiary for Daniel Jones being the quarterback? I have said from the moment the draft happened, I am not fading Tyler Warren. Like, I know what Michael Pittman is. Pittman is who he is. I don't believe there's any world where Pittman becomes Jamar Chase this year, that he becomes some elite receiver. Like, he's just Michael Pittman. He's steady Eddie. He's going to do his job, but that's what he is. Downs is awesome. There's some intrigue there. I think Adnan Mitchell and Alec Pierce have a role inside that offense in which they're going to occupy. But the one that I believe has the most sort of upside is first-round pick Tyler Warren, who I want him even more now, with Daniel Jones looking like he's going to get the starter's nod throughout training camp, OTAs, minicamp, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think for me, it's pretty clearly Josh Downs. I mean, you look to what he did last year with Wan'Dale Robinson and think, like, why can't Josh Downs be a much better, more efficient version of that? But I think the problem with that take is that's assuming that Michael Pittman's on the outside, and Michael Pittman doesn't play primarily on the outside. He does play inside and run some of those RPO concepts they ran with JRich, and we'll see how they develop this offense under Daniel Jones. But it feels like if there was a player that kind of broke out, assuming he operated as that number one target over the middle, I think that Josh Downs would be the primary beneficiary in this offense. I think he's more explosive than Pittman is. I think he's going to be more utilized. If he's healthy and ready to go, I think that Josh Downs will be a massive, massive value for people who are drafting him kind of late this year.
Colts need to play Jones all season and just hope he tanks them to the 101 pick. They can get that Arch Manning, huh, Joe? Get that Arch, bring that man. That would be the narrative, right? Because if the Colts did get the number one pick, Shane Steichen's gone, right? Like, he's out of there.
Probably.
Third year.
3 years.
3 losing seasons. No quarterback stability. You've got the number one pick. You're not going to let him F it up. Like, you're not going to do that. That 3 years, he probably would be gone, Jay. Steichen?
So here's the question. And we always philosophize on this because we don't know the answer. Was it Shane Steichen who sold the Colts on Anthony Richardson, or was it the Colts who were sold on Anthony Richardson? Because whoever made that decision, that's the one who needs to be fired, right? Whether it was Shane Steichen who sold the Colts on JRich that he can make him a starting quarterback in the NFL, or if it was the GM and the ownership group that said that we want to take a shot on this kid, and Steichen is the one who's left with him.
I don't know, man.
He may be fired anyways. But maybe if JRich wasn't his guy, he could keep his job and show it well. And on a side note, the biggest beneficiary probably for this as a whole is actually Jonathan Taylor. Because now there won't be the vulturing of the touchdowns in the end zone, more likely than not with Daniel Jones under center, and he'll just run the hell out of the ball 20 times a game and probably have a fantastic season this year.
I'm in on JT. I think JT's going to have a good season this year. I agree with you. Now, this was some news that caught me off guard. I did not see this. I didn't hear about it. I don't even know when he got injured. But apparently, Detroit Lions All-Pro wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown has not been participating in Detroit Lions offseason practices after undergoing an offseason knee surgery. I don't know what that means, an offseason knee surgery, cleanup, repair, fixing. Doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. However, the good news is he anticipates being ready for training camp in July. So he's got a month to get it together. But I noticed he started to fall yesterday on Underdog. I'm doing a couple of these drafts. I'm like, how's Amon-Ra here? Like in the beginning of the second round. So then I'm looking around and then I see this, that he had knee surgery. What are your thoughts on Amon-Ra St. Brown undergoing knee surgery and potentially, hopefully being ready for training camp? Any fear around the All-Pro receiver? No Ben Johnson. We kind of talked about his situational change. When you saw this, what were your thoughts?
I honestly didn't think anything of it. Cleanup surgeries seem like they're almost normalized at this stage now. Whether you're in the NBA or in the NFL, they kind of just happen. They just help, I imagine, clean up some of the scar tissue for some of these athletes. Obviously, all the wear and tear they have on their bodies, these things accumulate over time. But yeah, the quote from him on his own podcast, so it's not like this was even leaked information. He divulged it himself. He said, I had surgery on my knee after the season just to clean some stuff up, so I've been rehabbing that, but I should be good to go for training camp. So the question is he going to be ready for training camp? We're not going to know that until the end of July. And if he's active or at least maybe on the side field to start for the first week or so, like, I don't think we should be that concerned. I wouldn't quite go as far as say this is like a Puka situation where, early in the offseason, he's week to week and we're not sure. You get that, then I'd get a little bit concerned. But I think for now, especially with his history as well in the NFL, he's played through injuries a lot throughout his career. So I think even if he was a little bit banged up to start
and I didn't know that. I didn't know.
100%.
Luke said wasn't his knee banged up all year. I didn't know that. Everyone in the chat
played
saying
through a lot of injuries throughout his
cleanup story
career.
Was on his pod, seemed okay. But this is on the heels of the Lions losing their starting center. We didn't even touch on that. Was it Frank Ragnow who announced his retirement?
Yes.
Frank Ragnow announced his retirement. It's going to be a different, to your point, we talked about this, I think, either Monday or Wednesday. This is going to be a different Lions team. No Ben Johnson. Losing your center, I can just tell you, being a fan of the old Dallas Cowboys, when Travis Frederick left, like it was a different offensive line. Losing your all-pro center is probably never a good thing. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the depth of that Detroit Lions offensive front is. It's not my squad. I don't follow them that closely. But I know that Frank Ragnow was an incredible center. And losing the centerpiece of your offensive line, just never an easy task to overcome. Not something that's insurmountable, but Lions, offensive coordinator, center gone, wide receiver a little banged up. Like, it's just going to be a different team, right? It's just going to be a different offensive unit.
Well, let's not forget they also lost their left guard, right, who ended up in Tennessee. And then so it's interesting. If anything happened to Tate Ratledge, they would have an entirely new interior offensive line for Jared Goff, and we know how important that is for him.
It's very important
in the pocket because he's not a mobile quarterback, right? We know the tackles are going to be great, but if anything happens to Tate Ratledge, we could be looking at
Tate Ratledge is a rookie. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
It's a rookie.
Yeah.
There it is right there. Lions center Frank Ragnow announces his retirement from the NFL after 7 seasons. This is again, big piece of their offensive unit. I wonder how Lions fans feel right now. No big deal, not that big of a deal. It was a big deal in Dallas. When Travis Frederick said, I'm done playing, it was a big deal in Dallas. And they have Tyler Biadasz. They look for centers after that. Biadasz is in Washington now, but it's kind of been trying to find that guy after Frederick. That is the centerpiece of your offense. While left tackle gets all the glory and the fame, like this is the captain of the offensive front, the center position right here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, thankfully for them, they do have Goff, right? Very experienced, can help, work with the offensive line to kind of bring them along. It wasn't like he's a young quarterback where the center is very important for his development as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they manage all that. And especially when all the reports out of Lions camp are they want to get the ball down the field. Jamison Williams having a great camp, going to be heavily involved in the offense. Like, you can't push the ball down the field if your offensive line isn't very, very strong. And we know they have a strong offensive line, but with these moving pieces, can it remain as strong as it was last season and the success they had offensively last season? So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, but it is a big piece. It's going to matter, and just hopefully they can overcome it and be just as good as they were last season.
All right, Jay. Your boy, former first-round pick, wide receiver from the University of Minnesota. My gosh, giving Lamar Jackson more weapons. Shoddy B, Rashod Bateman yesterday signed a 3-year contract extension with the Baltimore Ravens, $36.75 million, $20 million guaranteed. He is now the highest paid receiver on Baltimore. Got a second contract.
For now.
Shoddy B, how you feeling about the Ravens extending their wide receiver 1, Rashod Bateman?
I mean, it makes sense based off all the moves they've made, right? Like, they only had Rashod Bateman and DeAndre Hopkins, basically. So they've
got Zay.
Great.
Stop it, dude. Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely. They've got weapons.
You are literally come on this show all the time and say Lamar needs more weapons. So, again, you know how I feel about Zay Flowers. Fine receiver, more of a wide receiver too. DeAndre Hopkins, he's old. Maybe he'll be okay. And then they have Rashod Bateman, who is often injured, but did have a good season last season. Got paid for his services. They didn't address wide receiver in the draft. At least I don't think they did. If they did, it was super late. And, they had Tylan Wallace, Devontae Walker, who they drafted last offseason and hasn't done anything. Anthony Miller still kicking it on Baltimore. So there isn't exactly a lot of weapons out here, and they brought in LeJohntay Webster as well, it seems like, to back up DeAndre Hopkins, but it's probably going to be a lot of Flowers, Bateman, and maybe some Hopkins in there as well. We know that Likely and Andrews will be heavily featured, and they're going to run the heck out of the football once again. So I think it's fine. The price, again, I don't know if I'd want to give him that much money, but it's fine money. I'm sure Lamar.
A lot of people are saying why. Just why?
Yeah, it just
like people are like, why did they?
You can easily draft Rashod Bateman in the 4th round of any NFL draft. Like he hasn't been so good that you need to pay him, and they could have easily found a player to replace him, but I'm sure Lamar wanted him back, and they wanted him back, so they just decided to pay him instead of replacing him. But I don't really get it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He don't do a whole lot.
I think for this deal, because annual value, what's it, like $12 million? He's
12 and a half,
like $12.5 million. Give you 750 yards, 6 TDs. He's not great, right? He's not a great wide receiver, but and I want to dish out a dose of hopium reality. Did you see
Okay.
the comments out of New England? I know that right now we sit back and we feel like every rookie wide receiver is going to be instantly inserted as the team's wide receiver 2 or 3, right? Hell, we're looking at New England right now, and I know the OTA camp clips are at a fever pitch, but people are really thinking Kyle Williams is going to go out there and be the team's wide receiver 1 this year. And then the report from everybody that I've seen from New England is like the 3 wide receivers starting out, it's going to be like Diggs, Pop Douglas, Mac Hollins, right?
Yeah.
Like Kyle Williams, I believe the actual quote was, Kyle Williams should settle into the wide receiver 4 role nicely for the New England Patriots. You know, we're looking at Washington. Oh, Jalen Lane. He ought to be the wide receiver 3 right off the rip. And then it's Noah Brown and Michael Gallup. And every year we do this and we get it. Look at what we were doing with Tootin. We came on this show close to after the draft and everybody in the chat, Tootin. He's going to be the Bucky Irvin. And then all of a sudden, it's like, actually, Travis Etienne's probably going to be out there first, then some Tank Bigsby, and then we'll get some Tootin out there. He's not going to be we do this shit every year where we over-fantasize about these ranges of outcomes for players who haven't played a down in the NFL, and then you get to the season, and it's just Curtis Samuel out there catching the ball, right? It's Noah Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus. It's these random names. And sure, there will be some rookies that skirt through, but look at Denver. Benjamin Albright yesterday. Everybody I'm in these streets, JRich. I'm drafting Pat Bryant. He's going to be the team's wide receiver too. Sean Payton took him in the 3rd round. I'm looking at Ben Albright, and he's like, it's probably going to be Devon Vele out there. Nobody wants him. Screw a Troy Franklin, right? It's just Bo Nix, Courtland Sutton, and Pat Bryant. We do this stuff every year. I'm going to be on the show today with Matt Harmon. We're going to talk about Pop Douglas today. Little preview for that. We're going to talk a little Pop Douglas, but the reality is, like, a lot of these rookies are not going to be the team's primary, secondary, or even tertiary option out the gate. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but that's where you have to look at a team-by-team basis and determine who's probably going to be the guy in the offense. And, like, the funniest part about Devon Vele is people are shocked, but I believe it was either on BR or on this show where I ran through the targets that were attributed in Denver, and Devon Vele was 2nd on the team in targets last season. So why the hell can't he be 2nd on the team in targets this season? Because they didn't
because they drafted Pat Bryant. That's why.
I hear everybody. I hear the analysis. But yeah,
and I'm not shitting on. I'm not disparaging Pat Bryant, but they're rookies, man. Like they're 3rd, 4th round rookies.
Yeah, they're just. But again, that's what happens when you have Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant
where
and
are they
Trent
gonna
Sherfield, right?
Speaking
just a
of
bunch
Denver.
of guys.
Speaking
just
of Denver,
a bunch of guys.
We got to move them, adjust the ranks, JRich. Did you see the clips of this play?
I haven't seen any clips. No.
You haven't seen the clips?
No.
Yeah, let me run the. Have you seen the clips? This is Evan Ingram, JRich. Do you know what number Evan Ingram's wearing? Number 1.
Oh, number 1.
Look at it.
Did he wear number 1 at Ole Miss?
No. We're number 17, I think. But look at the. I mean, this looks like a damn receiver.
That's what he is, right? Evan Ingram is not a tight end. He is a receiver. He catches the football.
I saw these clips. I see Evan Ingram wearing number 1, and you can have that Pat Bryant. I want me some Evan Ingram, JRich. I'm in.
You're in?
It doesn't take much. Veteran player, good OTA camp clips, low single-digit number. I'm in. JRich, what do you think about this route here from Evan Ingram, who is apparently, per the reports, looking incredible with Bo Nix out in Denver?
Yeah, I mean, the funniest part about Ingram and Nix is, like, they really are a match made in heaven. Like, this is the player that Bo Nix would probably thrive with more than any other player. Maybe Devon Vele over the middle or, like, an elite slot player. But Evan Ingram can be that for Bo Nix. He can be a guy who runs up the seams, who can go over the middle, who's a big target for him, who can still make things after the catch. Like, all these things are possible for Ingram, and I think that like the fit with Knicks is just so good. And then Sean Payton, what he's done with tight ends in the past and the way he's utilized them, he's been looking for his difference maker tight end for how long now? Has yet to find it, and it seems like he has now in Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram could be in for a very big season for this team because, as you mentioned, the wide receivers, we just listed them off. There's nothing crazy here. There's no one that we're like, oh, they need targets. If we look up at the end of the season next year and Evan Ingram is second on the team in targets, why would we be that shocked? He has the ability. The opportunity could be there. As long as he's healthy, we've seen him have very big seasons in the past, and I think we could see it once again in Denver.
Number one, moving fluid like that, I'm in, JRich. That does it for me. Now, I know this next clip, and this player's been in the news this week. There's a lot of talk around this player, and Derek Carr came out and said, I just couldn't steal that money from the Saints. I didn't want to steal any more money from the Saints. I'm like, Derek, shut the hell up, man. Be quiet. But your boy,
seems like a good guy.
I don't know if you saw this the other day, JRich, but two players that you love. I'm surprised you don't have either of these two jerseys right now signed by Nick Underhill. But your boys, Tyler Shuck and Rashid Shaheed, did you see this throw? QB1, got Olave running the hitch underneath, Juwan Johnson out there, and then your boy Rashid Shaheed, JRich's favorite, down the field from Tyler Shuck. What do you think about this throw, this Saints offense, and nobody really giving Shuck any love, chance? I mean, he's out there. These are the ones. There's Juwan Johnson there. There's Chris Olave and Shaheed healthy, screaming down the field. How you feeling about this New Orleans connection of Shuck and Shaheed?
I'm interested, right? Like from the very beginning, and I said this before he ever got hired as a head coach on an NFL team, like I was interested in where Kellen Moore ended up because from the time he's been an OC from Dallas to even in LA at times to then going to Philly, like he's had good offenses. It's just the thing for him, and we do talk about this a lot with some OCs. Shane Steichen is another one we talk about with him a lot. When you have very talented quarterbacks, it's tough to work with ones who aren't, right? Like it's not the easiest to go from Dak Prescott to Herbert to Hurts to Shuck, right? Like there's a big learning curve there and just what you expect from your quarterback every single day, every single week, and ultimately on game days. But yeah, man, like the playmakers they have, it was supposed to happen last season when they brought in Kubiak. He sucked. Like, good luck, Seattle. And now they have Kellen Moore, and they still have the same weapons, but they're hopefully going to be utilized in space much better. And so I almost want to say, Ray, and I don't want to get out over my skis here.
Oh,
the
boy.
Quarterback play is much different.
Oh, my. Here we go.
I hope we see the Dallas offense when Kellen Moore was running the show in New Orleans, because I think the players they have on this team.
You're talking about a 2020 season, Dak? Where Dak
like
was on pace for 6,000 yards?
Now, again, Shuck isn't going to be Dak levels of success, but the way they utilize like Amari Cooper and a young CeeDee Lamb and having Michael Gallup screaming down the sidelines, like I think that type of offense for this Saints team with Chris Olave and Shaheed and whoever they want to have at wide receiver 3, like that's how they can find success. And so you have a template with, again, maybe some slightly higher talents, especially obviously at quarterback, but the way that the players can be deployed on the field in a multitude of sets, I think could mirror a similar style to what we saw in Dallas many years ago when he was the OC there.
I've drafted him. I mean, listen, he's going to be the starting quarterback, I believe. I believe that Tyler Shuck will open week 1 as the starter, and he's probably playing. I don't think they're pulling him. Who knows what happens when we get in season? But if he's their guy, he wins the job through camp. He's the starter full season, right? He's the starter full season. So whatever New Orleans is going to do is going to be predicated on the shoulder and the arm of one Tyler Shuck. Going to the chat right here. Let me see what we're talking about in the chat. Shuck will give the Saints a year, and we'll see if he's the future. I'm not sure. I think that's what it is, King.
I hope that's what it is for all parties, right? Like
I think it's 1 year. What they draft him 40th, so second round pick. There's not a ton of money tied to him. I don't think even if Tyler Shuck is awful this year, Kellen Moore's not going anywhere. He'll be right in the middle. And if he's not good, they'll be picking high in the draft again, and then they'll just draft Garrett Nussmeier or Cade Klubnik or Drew Allar or whatever quarterback ends up being in that range for the 26 NFL draft. But I think this is I kind of like what they did. Like, second round pick. If he's good, he's good. And we can move forward with him at a low cost for a couple of more years. Give him another season to see if he's really the guy. And if not, we just spent the second round pick on him. All right, we'll turn around next year and we'll find a quarterback in round 1 of the 26 NFL draft. So why not? I'll just say this. In that summer scouting, JRich, when I was comparing Lenora Sellers and I had him lined up against the 5 quarterbacks this year, analytically, he's not even in the same stratosphere as Cam Ward or Jackson Dart or even kind of Shedeur Sanders right now. But that Lenora Sellers was very comparable to Tyler Shuck, whose high analytic numbers don't look good either. I'm like kind of looking at him versus the other guys like, eek. We'll see. I mean, it was very Lenora Sellers-esque from Tyler Shuck. So we'll see if Kellen Moore is truly the rainmaker at quarterback and is going to be able to make it work with him. One of the biggest storylines this week, Jay, no doubt about it. And we talked about this player. He was number 2 on our list of the most overpaid stars in the NFL yesterday. So if you weren't able to check out, JRich and I are on Bleacher Report every single Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yesterday we did a show. We talked about overpaid players in the NFL. And number 2 on our list was the golden one, T-Law. Trevor Lawrence is one of the most overpaid players in the NFL. But I'm looking at what he's got now, okay? The excuses are about up. Man, how many more? You've said it, offensive coordinators. This is what he's got. Brian Thomas Jr. They brought in De'Ami Brown to get down the field to make big plays. You've got Travis Hunter. You've got a running game with Travis Etienne and the collection of Tank Bigsby and your rookie Bashel Tutin. This storyline right here, the Jacksonville Jaguars offense in a very, would you say, competable division, the AFC South, they should be able to compete in this division. And I know the Texans are going to be good defensively. That's going to be one of the better defenses in the NFL. How much more grace are you giving Trevor Lawrence?
How much?
How much?
0. The grace ended last season for me personally. And especially when
he's had 3 different coaches in 4 years.
I don't care anymore. Like, at what point are you going to show you're even a good quarterback?
He's been good. At what point
are you going to show you're even
an
above average quarterback? Okay, he's had moments. You know who else had moments, Ray? Mac Jones. Who's had a better peak in the NFL? Mac Jones or Trevor Lawrence?
T-Law.
I think it's very debatable when you factor in that Mac Jones in his rookie season was arguably the best rookie quarterback of any quarterback.
All right.
So now you get into a situation where they got Liam Cohen, who everyone loves, right? Sean McVay, very outspoken about Liam Cohen, how he wants to implement some of the things Liam Cohen did in the rushing game last season into his offense this year. That's the fear with Kyren Williams. He added Travis Hunter. You talked about Brian Thomas, who, again, was good with Mac Jones and was good with Trevor Lawrence. But, I mean, if he struggles, what is the excuse going to be this time if he struggles again? Is it, well, maybe he's not acclimated to Liam Cohen's system yet, and he's just starting slow? Because the problem with T-Law is the turnovers. Like, unless he cleans up the turnovers, which he has yet to do, is he going to be a startable quarterback for an NFL franchise going forward that's worthy of being paid the amount of money that he gets paid? So it's tough. I've always liked T-Law, but it's difficult to defend him when the Jaguars.
You don't like T-Law. You don't like T-Law. You don't.
Why?
You're not a big T-Law fan. Don't say you've always liked him. You're not a big.
I have always rooted for Trevor Lawrence, but I'm not gonna not be critical of him because I root for him and want him to succeed in the NFL. Like, it's not that I think that he's a bad quarterback, but he does need to show something, or he's just gonna be another Sam Darnold or these guys that can hang around for a bit and ultimately fizzle out. The difference is that he's paid like a guy who's supposed to be here. And that's the difference. When you're being paid to be a dude, you should probably perform like one. And if you're not going to, then the Jaguars at that point are just screwed. T-Law was good last year before injury. Is 2-10 good? Is that good?
He can't.
Is his 3.9% touchdown rate good, Ray? Is that good?
I'm not saying that those things are good, but I am saying that you don't think that his environment plays a role in his success. You
I
don't
think
think
it plays
that
a role.
you don't think that having Urban Meyer, Doug Peterson in
But
he just got
what's wrong with Doug Peterson? Why does everyone
clearly
talk about Doug
everything.
Peterson like it's a bad
Clearly
thing?
everything. Clearly,
What's wrong
'cause
with
he's
Doug
not there.
Peterson? I mean, he won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. He had Carson Wentz playing like an MVP. It's not like he sucks. You want to say Urban Meyer? Fine. Urban Meyer was awful. But Doug Peterson is not like this terrible offensive
Well, why is he not the
coach.
head coach anymore then?
Because Trevor Lawrence couldn't win football
Oh, so
games.
it's T-Law's fault. It's T-Law's fault he's not there.
Who is responsible for winning football games other than the quarterback?
The team.
He is the
and who's
most
responsible for getting the team in the position to win? The coach and the GM.
That's fair. You can say that, and that's fair. But T-Law wasn't winning football games, and he wasn't playing very well. He was turning the ball over a lot. Is Doug Peterson responsible for all of his fumbles? His 36 career fumbles in 4 years or 3 years, whatever it was? No. Is he responsible for some of his interceptions that he throws on a weekly basis? No. Right? It's not all on Peterson. I'm not here trying to defend Peterson, but he has to take some culpability here because he is part of the reason why they lost. They went 2-5 with Mac Jones, and they went 2-10 with Trevor Lawrence. So, say what you want about the team, but the team was the same from start to finish last season, outside of a couple injuries here or there. And they played better with Mac Jones. They just did. So if Trevor can't play at a better level than Mac Jones did at the end of the season last year, then they're going to be screwed. They're going to be screwed because their defense still sucks. It's still not good.
Would you rather Trevor Lawrence or Michael Penix?
As my starting quarterback, I would just roll the dice with Penix. I really would.
Trevor Lawrence or J.J. McCarthy?
I would take J.J. easily.
You haven't even seen him play.
That's fine. I don't need to see him play. I watched him win a national championship, and he was pretty good.
Lawrence or Stroud?
I'm Stroud by a mile.
Lawrence or Young?
I'd probably take Young.
Lawrence or Dart?
I'll take Lawrence over Dart.
Lawrence or Shuck? I'm just trying to figure. I'm just trying to get a range here. Lawrence or Shuck? You're taking Lawrence.
It's Lawrence.
Stop.
It's Lawrence. But
yes. Stop.
Again, people can say
Lawrence.
what they want, but he's not even an average quarterback.
Lawrence
he's
or Sam Darnold in Seattle?
I honestly, if you're giving me one season, I'm taking Sam Darnold.
Stop it, JRich.
If you put Ray, I'm telling you, if you put both these quarterbacks in the same offense for one season, I would bet money Sam Darnold performs better. I really would.
No way.
I really would. I really would.
But you root for. But you're gonna lie to the people and tell you like that T-Law and you root for him, right?
Yeah. I hope he succeeds. He's got Liam Cohen, right? He's fine. He's got Travis Hunter. He's good.
Adam Levitan. Shout out to ETR. Adam Levitan tweeted out an excerpt from The Athletic and talking about running back RJ Harvey and his positive start at OTAs. Let me read this for the people who aren't watching right now. Rookie running back RJ Harvey figures to take a sizable chunk of the Williams pie this season. The Broncos believe their second-round pick out of Central Florida has the ability as a lead ball carrier to immediately inject new life into Denver's running game, which sagged at inopportune times last season. That will be his primary job. In 2 open media practices, Harvey has been given ample work in the receiving game as he prepares for the kind of multifaceted responsibilities required of a running back in Sean Payton's offense. Jay, the running back position was no doubt the cream of the crop of 2025. Everybody's excited about these running backs. A lot of them landed in great spots, and we have not had this conversation or debate in a while. But I continue to 10 toes down on this one, that after Ashton Jeanty, this is the second best rookie running back in 2025. I don't give a shit about what you think the dynasty value will be 9 years from now. Who's going to retain value in the 2035 season? I don't care. For 2025, after Ashton Jeanty, I just don't know how you can I want RJ Harvey. We all play in PPR leagues, every last one of us. where your running backs are getting points for catching passes. I'm just not projecting that for Quinshon Judkins. Henderson, did you see the Patriots thing? He's going to be in the same type of role that he was in at Ohio State. What they're seeing is Ramondre is going to be the hammer. Travion Henderson is going to be the explosive, game-changing 2-minute, 4-minute drill running back. Get him the ball in space, but he's probably not going to be a featured bell cow type runner, right? Caleb Johnson, love him. Jalen Warren is still there. Cam Scatterboo is behind Tyrone Tracy. Like, this is the running back from 2025 who has the clearest path and opportunity to touches, valuable touches on a great team, a team that's going to be in good field position because of the defense, a team that has an excellent offensive line and an ascending young quarterback. How can you even remotely fade RJ Harvey?
Well, Ray, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
I don't give a damn about J.K. Dobbins either.
Did you know that J.K. Dobbins was taking a trip down to Denver?
I don't care.
You know, Sean Payton likes himself some two-headed monsters in the backfield.
How awful Audric Estime is, because I'm not
speaking
worried
about Audric Estime.
About Harvey.
I'm not saying you should go buy up shares of Audric Estime. I'm not saying he's going to be a great running back this season, but does J.K. Dobbins hurt the ceiling of R.J. Harvey?
No.
Okay.
No.
You say no? I would say it has to some extent, because he's not a nothing. He's better than that. He showed that last season. But
we're MV Prof. Stop it. He's Look, if anybody's worried about RJ Harvey's height, I will be the bearer of bad news to you, because we saw him all up close and personal. Ain't none of them big. If you think Rashard Smith is tiny, Bichelle Tootin is small, he's smaller than Harvey. The Tootin is smaller than Harvey. And we got video footage side by side with him to tell you in person, Harvey's put together very well. Trust me on that. Like, I am not, as far as just body builds, when you think about the running backs that we saw in Mobile, I think Harvey was put together very well. Devin Neal, Ollie Gordon, Woody Marks, like, they just looked very compact, dense, like they hit the weight room, right? I'm not worried about RJ Harvey's size. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And honestly, like, after seeing all those running backs outside of Ollie Gordon, like, this is just what the NFL is now. Like, even Ashton Jeanty, I believe, is only 5'9", and no one's talking about his height because he's unbelievable, right? So it's really a nothing burger, and especially behind that offensive line, like, sometimes having smaller running backs, I'm sure, is actually beneficial because it's harder to see them navigate through that offensive line as well, right?
Yeah. All right, let me see if there's anything else that I kind of wanted to show this Shedeur Sanders throw, but Shedeur Sanders OTA clips and stats have been the big topic of conversation this week. We talked about him on Monday, talked a little about him on Wednesday. I don't know if you saw the clip of him and Joe Flacco the other day. Shedeur just kind of vibing with Flacco, asking him to dance, and Flacco's like, I ain't doing no public dances. But seems like he's doing everything he needs to do. As a 5th-round pick, it seems like he's doing everything he needs to do to put himself in a position to maximize on whatever opportunity he gets when that opportunity comes, because it should come at some point, because Cleveland's quarterback room is kind of a mess.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. You know, like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I know that it will be covered heavily on this show, so you can look forward to that. Absolutely. But Ray, I have one question for you before we get out of here.
What's up?
Because I don't know if you saw this. You probably did. But the NBA is switching their All-Star format next season to Team World versus Team USA.
I did see that, but I didn't see the details of that. What's that mean?
It's Team World versus Team USA. So the Team USA will have a team. The world will have a team. Which team do you think would win, though? Because, what is it, the last 7 MVPs are international?
The world. Probably the world.
I mean, the starting 5 is
Joker.
Shea. At the 2 would probably be Luka. At the 3, Ray, Giannis. At the 4, Joker. And at the 5, do you know who's playing the 5?
Wemby. Yeah.
How the hell are you beating that team?
That team would beat any team that the USA put out there. 100%. That team would be like. That team would be, yes. That collection, that starting 5 would crush whatever starting 5 the USA would roll out Ant Edwards and Jalen Brunson at their 1 and 2.
Oh, they got Hallie, though.
Got to put some respect on that Hallie, man. You got to put some respect on that Hallie. All right, we got a couple. I think we had a super chat or two. I got to get to you. Yeah, we had a couple of super chats. All right, JRich, hit the music, man. Hit the music. We got to get this thing fit. Jimbo's the only person that can't join. He said he sent his $4.99 super chat.
I cannot control Jimbo's ability to subscribe.
He said, sell me some more beans on Odunze. I paid a pretty penny to acquire, having some buyer's remorse. Here's my membership fee, by the way. Jimbo, me and Matt Harmon are going to talk about Odunze here in the next 3-4 hours. I think he's the one. I'm fully bought in that Rome Odunze is going to be the feature wide receiver for the Chicago Bears in 2025. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I believe that will happen. So there's your bean selling. And then Stanley's in the chat. Shout out to my dog, Stanley. Will the Steelers make the playoffs this season? And how will Mike Tomlin be perceived after this year?
That's the big question, right? Can they make the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers?
Dude, they should be projected to be third at best in the AFC North.
Can they beat out any of the teams in the AFC West? Maybe the Raiders, but the top 3 teams in the AFC West that we expect to be in the playoffs.
Stanley, I would say no, and Mike Tomlin probably would be gone. I mean, it felt like they wanted to get his ass up out of there this year. I'm not saying they should. I'm not saying he's one of the... But at some point, leadership probably needs to change. And if it doesn't work... I saw something that post Ben Roethlisberger, like this has just been very bad. And this is why. And if you're a fan of the Steelers, you feel it, right? As a fan of the Cowboys, when you don't have as bad as you think Dak Prescott is, it can get a hell of a lot worse when you've got Chad Hutchinson and Drew Henson and Vinny Testaverde and all kinds of dog shit quarterbacks trotting out there for a week or two. Like, if you find one, you lock them up and you keep them because they do not grow on trees, man. Stanley, to answer your question, I do not think they make the playoffs, and I think they will move on from Mike Tomlin if that's the case.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle, right? Like, literally, these are the 6 teams that are probably going to be in the playoffs. Denver, Houston, the Chargers, Cincinnati, KC, Baltimore, Buffalo. And you know the top 3 are definitely in. The Bengals should be in. We'll see. Houston or Jacksonville, whoever wins that division will be in. And then it's can they beat out the Chargers or Broncos? But even right now, Ray, the Patriots have better odds of making the playoffs than the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are actually the first team out. Not the Steelers. It's the Patriots, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I wouldn't say I agree with that, but when you're in contention with the Patriots for just about anything, it's probably not a good sign for your franchise, at least as it stands right now for both teams.
All right. That's the show. That's the week. Pistol Pete said Rome about to rock it. We got Buckeye DK in the building, Swim in the building, saying Rome season, AJ, Adam Zaff, Justin, Ricardo, Joe, my girl in the building, Andrew Johnson, Stanley, appreciate you, Boyan, Anthony West, thank you everybody for pulling up to wake up this week every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the channel. On your way out, we did not hit the commercial, so hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe to the channel. Go to DDFFB. Dynasty Deal Show drops today. And for those of you who were not channel members on the Fantasy Channel, the show that Scott Connor and I recorded on Sunday, Destination Chill, should be live now. JRich, it's live. Live, but you got to watch it with them ads. You don't get it ad-free. You got to watch them ads. If you want it ad-free, become a member. Find it, unlike Jimbo. They can't find that join button. We'll figure something out for him soon. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Have an outstanding weekend and wake y'all asses up on Monday morning. We'll see y'all then. We out. Peace.
Peace.